Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Performance E Streaming. It is Thursday night, and that means it is the Cup action. We're here a tiny bit later than scheduled tonight after a couple of server hiccups have caused us to just come on a little bit past time. We are tonight at a fantastic track. We are at CL51. Mark, you might be able to get that one.
Yes, yeah, we certainly are. Super speedway that isn't a super speedway, Atlanta. So let's bring it on, I say.
Absolutely. We'll go through some more details as the race rolls on, but we're going to go through the gridding up right now on row number one. Starting on pole position, we've got Jai Schultz taking, I think, his first pole for the Cup season. He's got Daniel Hederscheid on his outside. It's Joshua Carroll Walden with Jamie Curvis starting on the second row. Row number three sees a Cobalt racing car in Shane Bowen next to Neil Pearson in for DPR. Row number four, we've got Daryl Hockey and Stevie Dubb. Row number five, we have Norman Clark returning from his sabbatical and Alexander Sheridan. Dyson and Urquio make up row number six. Maddie Ray and Brenton Henderson make an SRM row number seven tonight. Brad Fenley lines up next to our only American out there, Derek Jacobs. Dave Douglas and Phil Otto make up row number nine. Toby Stead sits next to Kobe Jordan down on the 10th row. Row 11 sees Nigel Patton next to Luke Crum. Ruben Phelps sits next to Riley Curtis for the 12th row. And rounding us out tonight is Andy Barber and Christopher Tomlin down on the 13th spot. So we are coming around to take up our formation lap, get ready for tonight's little bit of race. We've got a couple of moments, so I'll just quickly go through the drivers' standings. We have got cars locked in at the moment, as long as they make the races. And that's Dyson, Pearson, Stent, Hederscheid, and Jai Schultz. For the actual points championship, it goes Lachlan Urquio, Ruben Phelps, Matty Ray, Dave Douglas, and Joshua Carroll, and with Stevie Dubb just sitting outside of the top 10, the crucial top 10. Pace car will be pulling in just a couple of moments, so let us get ready for the start of tonight's race here at Atlanta. We should be in for an absolute treat. It's going to be Jai Schultz leading these cars away and getting ready for the race tonight. Quite a few drivers in here that have got those little bits of extra skill on super speedways. They're going to hope they can take advantage of it. Coming up to the start-finish line, it's going to be 130 laps here at Atlanta. I'm going to shut up. Let's enjoy these cars roaring around this fantastic circuit. First time tonight, Mark. It looks like Daniel Hederscheid made a move up to the front. The high line's dropping down a little bit at the starting stages, but we are seeing the long train down on the low line.
Yeah, the low line seems to be where you need to be early in these races here at Atlanta. Look at the high line to start really working probably mid-race, about halfway point. But what you've got to be careful here in Atlanta now is that join right in the middle of that red stripe on the pole line. It seems to be a little bit worse now than it used to be. So just watch guys coming into turn one. If they get down very low on the track and grab that line, because it may turn them.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to be really, really cautious here, not dropping. Well, as you say, not dropping below that line on the corners, because it is very flat down there as well, and the banking here is extreme through the corners. The seam really can throw the cars off, and that's where we see most of the big accidents.
Yeah, well, the banking here in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 is 28 degrees, so that's a fairly steep bank, and it does really, as you said, Carl, really flatten off very quickly on that once you get below that triple line there.
We are green at the moment, 5 laps into the race, 125 remaining. Up front, Daniel Hederscheid, he's managed to get himself up into the lead, sliding in front of Jai Schultz. Joshua Carroll sits down in 3rd position. Shane Bowen having a good start up into 4th, and Daryl Hockey up into P5. Looks like that high line is starting to melt a little bit as we see a big train of DPR cars dropping down low, getting themselves in behind Norman Clark. But importantly, Jamie Curtis has linked up with his teammate there.
Yeah, look at Jamie having a good run tonight. He didn't have the best of luck last night. Come down to, I think it was 3 to go in the Thunder Series, in 3rd place. And just come out of turn 3 there at Pocono and clipped that outside wall, and that was race over for himself, Barry Neal and Jai Schultz last night.
Easy mistake to make at the tricky triangle. We don't often see too many big clashes off the exit corners here at Atlanta though, Mark, but it can happen out of turn 4.
Yeah, there seems to be a bigger magnet on the outside of that turn 4. I know I've caught it a few times when I've raced here. And it just the track just seems to drag you up into that outside wall.
It's not fun when that happens. One thing that could be affecting that tonight is the track temperature. We are running in the earlier days, the early afternoon today, rather than into the evening, because you might see some light posts around the track, but unfortunately Atlanta don't pay their electricity bill, so they don't work at the time being. So that means we have to run in the daytime, which means we're looking at 43 degrees on the track temperature, 27 in the air as well. Now, relatively warm air temperature at Atlanta. It is a very small super speedway, isn't it, Mark? So that can really affect you if you're bump drafting. Give him a quick tap and make sure he's working.
Yeah, sorry, there it is. Yeah, definitely. I just saying, Carl, to myself, but the lap before this one, you've seen Kobe get down on that triple line there in the turn 1, and it really broke him loose a little bit. But he's been able to recover, and he's actually moving up. And we see Nankervis move up track and join Neil Pearson and Dyson on that high line, trying to get that high line to work.
Yeah, they got a monster run just on the exit there. As Kobe Jordan just gets a little bit loose as well. There's Neil Pearson there as Dyson gets perilously close to the wall out turn 2 too. But a bit of a scary moment for a lot of drivers there. There was a lot happening on track. Luckily, nothing came of it, because that could have been a big crash this high up the field.
Yeah, definitely. I think Dyson just rubbed his teammate there at the wrong time, trying to give him a push, and it wasn't quite the right timing. But we can see that outside line now starting to get a few guys up there, but they are going backwards at a great rate of knots at the moment.
Yeah, the run that they had in the early stages has just fallen off completely. And if you're sort of new to the world of oval racing, NASCAR racing, well, first of all, welcome. We enjoy you coming over here, and welcome to the channel as well. We hope you'll stick around and watch some more of the fantastic action that we're blessed with over here. But what tends to happen is you jump out from behind the car in front of you. You have all of this speed from when you're being drawn up behind them, where there's no drag effectively. You lose all of your drag for the car. You jump out into the clean air. You have a really fast car for a couple of seconds, and then all of a sudden the air friction comes back into play. It hits you like a brick wall and slows you right down. So you've only got a couple of moments where you can take advantage of those big monster runs. Now what's happening on the high line is we've got a big group of cars. The more cars you have in line, the less drag it affects it effectively. So it just gives you that chance to run along nicely. You can see Dyson is pushing his teammate along. Neil Pearson is being shoved along at the moment by Andrew Dyson, using all of that car's power, trying to get him up there. And they are really linked together at the moment.
Yeah, we can see that high line too, Carl, staying away from that low line so they don't get the side draft. What we found with these cars is that if you get too close, yeah, you get the side draft, but it tends to pull both cars back a little bit.
Absolutely. I wonder how much of that's to do with the new diffusers and things like that on these cars. The advanced aerodynamics of these NASCARs, which aren't that advanced to most people, but it just sort of tends to slow you down when you get those side drafts and can catch you off. This is coming along nicely at the moment. That high line is starting to work, but it's going to start getting to a stage where tyres will become a problem. And this is the other little thing about Atlanta, is it's kind of like a mini super speedway, but unlike super speedways, you get a lot more tyre wear here.
You're seeing in the background there, Phil Otto up into the outside wall, just give it a little bit of a rub. Yeah, this has got a different type of asphalt on the track too now. It's a very open asphalt. So when it does rain, the water seeps through it a lot quicker and gets down into the drainage on the bottom of the track.
And I think it's slightly grippier, isn't it, as well, which means, grippier asphalt means it's a little bit harsher on those tyres too, as we see Jai Schultz trying to jump up and take advantage of the high line, but it does not look like Pearson wanted to play that game, as now we've got Jai Schultz stuck in at the middle as he's trying to drop back, and he gets a little bit of space there. Luckily, he's got a teammate down a bit further in the order who makes a little bit of room there and lets him slide in, because we were about to have three wide racing here.
Yeah, a bit early in the piece to go three wide. You can definitely do it, but yeah, I don't think it's late enough in the race to be going three wide just yet.
As we see the main group chugging along, and then we've got the sort of secondary pack with Urquio, Phelps, and Riley Curtis and Brad Fenley. And then Christopher Tomlin and Andy Barber, they've fallen off the back of the train, and that's really affecting them at the moment, as they aren't able to get the speeds of those cars in the big long lines. So they're going to be hoping that they sort of don't get lapped here. Still a bit of time before that happens, but it is a pretty short track, only 1.5 miles, so it does not take long for these leaders to catch up to cars that aren't quite in a draft pack.
Yeah, when you just see Matty Ray there in position 16, he's he's in danger of losing that lead pack too. So it'd be interesting to see if he gets any help from that Toyota in front of him with Lit Crum.
Absolutely, he's just on the cusp at the moment where he can still just about feel it, but you're sort of sitting in the car going, rocking backwards and forwards, trying to make it go a little bit faster. But just in that position, we got a couple of cars slightly out of position there as they form right back up again. But this is getting into the stage where tyres are going to start to get a little bit less grippy. The car's going to be feeling a little bit tighter. It's going to be not as responsive, and it can catch a few people out when the tyres drop off here at Atlanta. We've seen it before, especially out of turn 4. Lap times have dropped by a good couple of tenths of a second right now. It's not too far off the fastest times, but they are starting to fall, and that's all because of the tyre wear.
Yeah, and what you'll find too is that the early stages, you can almost run flat out right around this track when your tyres are young. But we were talking before, Carl, once about now, the guys will be just lifting off coming into 1 and 2, and maybe even just starting to drag that brake of just that ever so slight, or they'll start to look for that mid-track racing line. But no one's gone to that. That's about where that high line is running at the moment.
And that's pinching the rest of the low line down a little bit, but it looks like the low line seems pretty comfortable for the cars. You sort of get used to the way car feels on the low line, and then when you switch to a different line, it can throw you out a little bit. I know everybody was really practicing hard for this race. We have the practice servers up before the race, and we get about an hour of practice before we go green. And I saw a lot of people really putting in the time to practice. They were testing how the car felt through the run, taking on the long runs as well, and also running different lines so they could take advantage of that in this race.
Yeah, and don't forget, these guys are on a set fixed setup until they come into pit lane, and then they can start to play with the tyre pressures. They start to play with the shock rebound. So I know that there's a few guys there that I was down in the garage and listening to, talking about tyre pressures, debating whether to go lower in the early stages or pump them up on that first pit stop. So it'd be interesting to see what some of these guys do, and talk to the race winners and afterwards.
That's it. There's a lot of different things that can be achieved with the fixed open setup that we run for the Cup. Which you said, Mark, you can't change it until the first set of pit stops, where there's not much you can change, but those little things can make a big difference. And on a hot track like we've got at the moment, dropping the tyre pressures will probably make it nicer for those big long runs, but you'll lose a little bit of pace in the initial, like for the first couple of laps, of course, as they build up their tyre their tyre temperature. Of course, that builds up the pressure as well. So there's all these little things that can make a difference in how it runs. And we know that DPR, they've been doing a lot of open setups, open setup races recently on the ovals, and they've really been making it pay off in the Cup Series here by just having that little bit more knowledge on how a car works in the long run, what works with different changes. And this is the things going through all the teams. Natari have been really doing a good job recently of getting it right. They've changed a couple of little bits here and there, and they've been sort of getting onto the pace of those DPR cars. So it really can be useful having a couple of extra cars in the team giving you that information on the setup feedback.
Yeah, it definitely can come in handy. Just back looking at this second pack, there's a couple of the drivers back there. Like it's being led by Brendan Henderson at the moment, but riding behind Brendan Henderson is Dave Douglas. Now we don't normally see Dave down there in 18th position, but him and Derek are there. Lachlan Urquio, Riley Curtis, Ruben Phelps, Brad Fenley, and unfortunately Phil.
We've got a wreck, Mark. We've got a wreck happening on the back straight. Big accident, as it's gone wrong for DPR. It's gone wrong for DPR. Dyson was pushing Neil Pearson, and there's been a huge wreck with that front pack. We'll wait for the replay to go through all the details, but a lot of cars caught up in that. People just unsighted from the incident too, unable to get on the brakes quick enough. In that second pack as well, they've sort of had a little bit of checkup as well. So we see it just on the exit of the corner. Dyson pushed a little bit too hard, and you've got to be so careful of doing that on corner exit. Catches Neil Pearson out, sends him around right into Jai Schultz, and then you see one of the Cobalt cars and Jamie Curvis going into him as well. Nigel Patton and Stevie Dubb giving Maddie Ray the luckiest of escapes there. Maddie Ray keeping that car clean somehow in that incident.
Yeah, that's definitely not going to be sit well for Jai, because he actually gave that outside wall a double hit, and he also got hit in the rear end as Nigel came down. You can just see there, Dyson just wasn't square onto the rear of Pearson's car, and that's unsettled it and taken the air off it and just turned it. And unfortunately for Jamie, nowhere to go. He's copped it front and rear also.
Yeah, and aero damage can be, it's not something you want on this track for sure. It's not the, it's a very fast track that aero can be a big thing. Just looking, Neil Pearson, he sort of looks to have gotten relatively unscathed in that one. So he's sort of gotten away relatively unscathed. Phil Otto, he's got a huge amount of damage. As his engine has gone, I think. So that sort of cost a couple of people positions as well, because he was out on track, and just meant that people have passed him, so they've got themselves a penalty, unfortunately. As is iRacing's system.
Yeah, unfortunately, Alex Sheridan and Daryl Hockey look like they've both been given a black flag. And Phil Otto's, as you said, Carl, his motor expired, so unfortunate for him.
Just trying to figure out what happened to Otto in that accident. That was Phil that we were looking at then, wasn't it?
It was. It was pretty weird. There was no contact or any damage in there that caused it. I'll have a look at this. I've got another keyed up thing on a lap later.
Oh, okay. So there it is. It's coming to the pit lane, and it's sort of going along, and the engine just goes on him, I wonder if he accidentally downshifted and that's what
Ooh.
blew it. And Jamie's just gone into the back of him.
Hmm.
I'd say that's what he's done. He's gone down, maybe 2 gears instead of just the one.
See if we can-
Okie dokie. Well, pace car is about to be coming in the near future, but that was an odd one for Phil Otto. Just sort of caught him out and caught a couple of drivers out, unfortunately, taking him out of the race. But it's not over for everybody. There's still lots of chances, but a lot of damaged cars out there. Cars that are still in pit lane getting repaired. Pearson, that's Jai Schultz, Alexander Sheridan, Phil Otto, of course. But pace car will be pulling in, and Brad Fenley has found himself up to the front of the pack. Everybody else came in for a fresh set of boots or some extra fuel. Brad Fenley's going to stick it out there and see what he can do from this position. Of course, we are limited to 5 sets of tyres in the race, so Fenley will have an extra set up his sleeve. 99 laps to go here. Pace car will be pulling in, and we'll be going back to green flag racing here. Race 19 of 36 here at Atlanta for the ANZCAR Cup. So Fenley's just going to be... He's going to have some speed in the initial stages. We see with the way these tyres work, they take a little bit of time to heat up. As we've got a wreck happening in the background, as we have the caution flag flying again, as looks like Daryl Hockey and Brenton Henderson have made contact with each other, and unfortunately gone into Lachlan Urquio, and quite a few cars at the back of the pack getting caught up in that one. We'll go to the replay now. So, unseen there, maybe uncalled that there was a car low. Just gone into the side, and big damage there. That's another incident there just after the restart. So that's brought out the pace car again.
I've just been out to grab our pilot and the number 1 car, Phil Otto. He's sitting down there in the green room. We might bring him up and see what actually happened to him, and see if we can get an explanation for his engine expiry. G'day, Phil. You got a copy?
Yeah, hey, buddy.
Hey, mate. Not a night that you want to remember. What happened? Did we just forget to put some oil in that motor, or?
I'm gonna have to go at the bloody pit crew, man. I honestly have no idea. I was just driving along, and all of a sudden it hit bang.
Yeah, okay.
Went hard left.
Yeah, right. Not a night to for the number 1 car.
No, not wrong. No, I was looking forward to it too. It's quick enough. I'm just trying to stay out of trouble instead of causing bloody trouble. Crying out loud.
Mate, just take a note out of Carl's book and my book. Just stay at the back and wait for everyone else to fall off.
That's what I was trying. I drifted back there and I was still screwed up.
Well, mate, not a night for the black number 1. We've seen you in the Thunder series and the trucks at points through the year. Overall, you're not having too bad a season when you can make the races.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I'm trying to concentrate on the Cup series because I've got some pretty good pain levels. But thank God I've got some good drugs. But we'll see how we go. We'll have some fun.
All right, mate. Well, unfortunately, not a night for you. We'll see the number 1 car back out on track next week.
Absolutely. We'll have some fun there as well.
All right, mate.
New Hampshire next weekend, I think.
Yeah, I think so, Carl. Are we right there?
I'm not the one to ask that. It's Matt. Matt's the question on Matt. Christ.
Yep, that's correct. Yep, New Hampshire next week.
I thought it was. We'll have some fun, eh?
All right, mate. Well, thanks for joining us in the booth. And go have a quiet ale and some tablets and get rid of that pain, and we'll see you back out on track next week.
You bet. I'll be smiling all the way too. Have fun, boys. Good calling.
All right, mate. Thanks very much for joining us.
Not a problem. Have fun, bud.
So unfortunate there for Phil Otto. It was a really strange one, as you said, because when you're driving, if you downshifted twice, so obviously something's gone just completely wrong there. So weird situation. Maybe some kind of bug coming into play or something like that.
Yeah, well, when I got a message to him, and he said to me, there was no downshift. It just went locked up and went bang. So a technical failure of some type on the platform, I'd say.
Yeah, really, really strange. That goes with my odd circumstance on Monday night. I'll go into detail after. I've got a little bit of time. My car just switching off for no reason, and the ignition just switched itself off. So I wonder if there's a couple of little bugs at play somewhere in the line of code for some of these cars, or possibly some of the third-party apps that we use. That's playing things up a little bit somewhere. But that's one of the risks of racing. These little technical gremlins do come in, much like real life racing. You never know when something like that's going to happen. But we're about to go back to green flag racing. It's going to be Daniel Hederscheid coming up to the Geico restart zone. He's going to be putting his foot down, and we will be going back to green here at Atlanta.
Great start there by JCW and Toby on that outside line. Dropped down in front of Daniel Hederscheid. So that inside line again is a very tough one with those three cars at the front there.
Yeah, that big move there, but this is lined up 3 Natari cars in a row. You've got JCW, Daniel Hederscheid, and Toby Stent and Daniel Hederscheid there. And Toby Stent's got a very nice new paint job on as well. I've just noticed a very pretty livery on that car. So always nice when you spot something a little bit different. And again, a lot of work goes into these paint jobs from the boys and the people that they hire and people that help out to do them. And it's great to see these pretty race cars out on track. What this has done, though, is it's wounded a couple of the DPR cars in Dyson. I think Stevie Dubb got caught up in that one as well as Neil Pearson. So that could be an opportunity for somebody like Natari tonight to really take it to them and try and get themselves another driver locked into the chase.
Yeah, definitely. Just looking back through the field, Jai Schultz is back out there. And more importantly, he's been able to stay on the lead lap. So that accident, he's been able to get that car repaired and back out there.
Yeah, the cars involved in that first incident, they sort of, and the second incident as well, that they sort of got away relatively unscathed, which is good news for them. Lachlan Urquio's back out there. He's got quite a bit of damage on the front, but he's still out there. He's losing some speed now as he's trying to keep on the back of the pack. So it's just going to be interesting to see how much pace they've lost from that incident, because they might look relatively clean on the track, but as we know, any little damage on these things can really affect you on a high-speed circuit like this.
Yeah, you're right, Carl. I'm just watching Jai at the moment, and he has started to drop off that pack. So, although he does have his teammate behind him in Christopher Tomlin, so let's hope he can push him. And he's got a teammate in front of him, Kobe Jordan. So.
Yeah, it might be sort of okay once he gets in the middle of a pack and, he's not sort of towards the front or the back. He might be able to get some speed in that car and at least be able to get some points tonight and just get a fairly good finish. That's going to be his hoping. Big mover at the moment is Toby Stent. He's up 17 positions, moving his way up towards the front row, and he's there pushing along Joshua Carroll Walden, who is back and raring to go. He's seen JCW back for a few races now, but it's nice to see him back from his big vacations, and he's sort of come in with a fresh head, got a little bit relaxed and come back to racing. Luke Crum as well, big gainer in that instant, up 16 positions. He has got Dave Douglas behind him, and look, if there's one man you want behind you on a sort of super speedway style track, it's Dave Douglas.
Yeah, he's definitely a great pusher. And we can see after Dave Douglas, we got 2 SRM cars there in Matty Ray and Brendan Henderson. and our only American driver, Derek Jacobs, in the field there too, has been able to make his way up through those cautions.
So Riley Curtis back up there as well in that very pretty looking car. New livery again for Riley tonight. But he's having a good run. He had that little moment with Phil in front of him, but it doesn't look to have damaged the Mustang, and he's keeping up some good pace at the moment. Just towards the back of this train, which has pretty much gone single file mode now. We're not seeing the two wide action that we had earlier on. They've all gone into a single file line as we tick over 44 laps here, 86 remaining tonight.
Yeah, I don't mind the cars that are out front at the moment, and the Mustangs this now as I've jumped camp for next season.
Surely you've got to go to Toyota. You know, you've got to support the underdogs.
No, sorry, it's you'll find me in a Mustang next year, and we'll take it from there. But we've got a Soul Mustang on the high line at the moment, dropping back
Shane
in behind.
Bowen, I think it was, just dropping back down at the pack, sliding himself between Henderson and Maddie Gray there. So just falling back a little bit, but not always a bad strategy on a place like this, because if you're a few cars back in the pack, it means you can save a little bit of fuel.
Yeah, and that's going to play into it a little bit tonight too. They'll want to run now that they've all been in and changed their tyres and had a fiddle with their setups. They'll want to try and run this as long as they can.
Yeah, we reckon about 40 laps is going to be the longest anyone can run it tonight. But I'm sure we'll be surprised by somebody running it, 56 or 60 odd laps out of nowhere, and we'll just go, how do they do it? Why do they do it? Why did they make our notes wrong? But we'll see how that one runs out. You can see the second pack there. It's got Stevie Dubb in the lead at the moment. Ruben Phelps down there too, and Neil Pearson, Andrew Dyson, Nigel Patton, and Andy Barber in this little group at the moment.
Yeah, the danger now, Carl, is they're starting to close in on Daryl Hockey and Alex Sheridan. They're not that far off the rear of those lap cars, or soon to be lap cars again. Unfortunately, Daryl's 2 laps down right at the moment, and Alex Sheridan is 4 laps down. 7 laps down. So they're going to have to be careful when they come up to these guys, make sure their intentions are clear, and get on the race radio and ask these guys to run to a certain spot. And as I say that, I can hear in the background on the race radio, the leaders have asked them to move high, so they should do the right thing and move out of the road.
Which they are doing right now, and that's a crucial thing to take advantage of, the race radio, when you're getting past lapped cars, is, either the lap cars will jump on and just say, yep, I'm just going to stay up high, just keep out of the way, or you'll get the leaders just going, yep, can you position yourself in this spot or this spot? So good communication there, and good job from everybody sliding their way through and getting past all of those cars, which are just trying to get back up to some form of pace and at least try and get a finish here tonight, because every point counts in a race like this, and you never know, there could be a nasty accident later in the race that could take out a handful of cars and move you up a few spots.
Yeah, definitely. What these guys now have to hope for is that some as you said, Carl, there's another accident and it takes a few other guys out. Although Darryl will get a lucky dog, because he's in the lucky dog's position. He's the first car that he's a lap down.
Yeah, that's it. He can, if we get a few cautions tonight, he could find himself back on the lead lap, and that's always a crucial part of it. Is you just don't give up, because we've seen in the past drivers, they've come from a few laps down and come back in for some good positions, even winning it. There's always an opportunity there to get some positions. That second line of cars is starting to drop. It looks like they're starting to catch up a little bit. They're sort of trying their best to get right to the back of this lead group at the moment. And, well, they're doing it quite well because they're working very hard with each other. You can see Dyson is absolutely pushing Stevie Dub along with all his power at the moment, and Ruben Phelps doing the same thing. They're down in the 29s at the moment, sort of the late 29s, early 30s for their laps, whereas the leaders are in about 30.2s. So they are catching, and it won't be long until we have one big, long crocodile of cars.
And it's only going to take a caution, and it'll jumble things up again. But I mean, say right at the moment, these Atari cars out front do look the piece.
Yeah, they're having a good run up the front at the moment, and as I said, they've really been working hard recently, Natari, on just getting those extra couple of tenths of a second that's needed to sort of take it to the DPR cars, which I've got to say have been having a fantastic run this season. So you know, just giving that, you know, they're doing a good job here tonight as well. So we'll see how this one unfolds, and who has got all of those little tweaks right, who's got it wrong, and well, who's in the right position at the right time as well, as is often the case on a super speedway. A little bit of luck never hurts.
Yep, and we're about to see Lachlan Urquio go a lap down. Unfortunately for him, his car's carrying too much damage, as we see there on screen. The guys are passing underneath now.
Yeah, he really got heavy damage on that car, and just looks like it's engine damage as well, so it's dropped a couple of ponies, and that's really hurt the 42's chances tonight, who's been having a cracking season so far points wise. But I think we spoke to him a couple of weeks back or last week, and he said, you know, I can afford to have a couple of bad results now. I've got a bit of leeway in there, and well, tonight is going to be that night. He's going to have to just accept that it's not going to be a good run tonight. Another car that's about to go a lap down is Brad Fenley. He came in for tyres after that second caution, but just fell off the lead pack, and that car is not looking slow by any means. It was, you know, it's not got any damage, it's not got anything like that, but just running out there on his own has meant that he's fallen off the pace completely. He's running out there at around about 280 kilometers per hour. Although caution flag is out, we've got a caution flag out because there's a massive wreck behind, and that second pack of cars is involved in it. Stevie Dub is pointing the wrong way round. Let's see what's happened here. Oh, I can watch Stevie Dub in this one, and well, keep our eyes on Lachlan Urquio as well, because that second group of cars has come up on Lockie, who is doing the right thing, keeping himself right up on that high line as a lapped car. But unfortunately, they've got three cars pushing very hard in Stevie Dub, Andrew Dyson, and Ruben Phelps, and there's just no room there on these old tyres. Dyson was in the middle of a push as well, and that little bit of air has come off the front of Stevie Dub's car, turned him around, and a big accident has unfolded. Andy Barber taking a huge amount of damage as well. He takes a big hit in that one. Second time tonight, I mean, that was very close on, you know, very close to sort of, it looked, when I initially saw it, I thought maybe there'd been contact between Lockie and Stevie Dub, but so that was second time tonight. Dyson's pushing has caused one of his teammates to go around.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm just seeing all three Natari cars go up on the jack. So, just missed what happened to Daniel Heddershide coming out of pit lane there, because Dave Douglas has jumped him.
Yeah, Brenton Henderson looks to have taken fuel only, and you see that Andy Barber just taking that big hit there as well. Dave Douglas was relatively short time stationary. So maybe just a few different strategy games being played out in pit lane. So, pit stops were happening. Here we see the replay of all those cars coming into pit lane. And looks like everybody but Brenton Henderson, who's coming in pit lane now, took tyres. So everybody on a fresh set of boots, possibly. As we're at lap 60, 70 to go here. So it looks like everybody's taken a fresh set of boots here for this next set of running.
So reset the field and let's start all over again.
Absolutely. And I wonder if... I think Lockie actually got the lucky dog. So some minor good news for Quio. So he is going to be back on the lead lap by the looks of things. But that car has seen better days, unfortunately. Back up at the front, Matari up there. But Dave Douglas now starting to work his way forwards. And we know just how quick Dave is. This could be a really good night for the casting couch entry of Dave Douglas.
Yeah, you can never count out Dave. He's always thereabouts. So as you said, he's a great pusher. So let's see what type of jump those Natari cars get on the outside. And Matty Ray's up there too, so be looking for him to go with Stent and Hedderscheid.
Very much so. As we come through 3 and 4, pace car will be pulling in right now, and we'll be going to the restart zone on the inside. You'll see it littered with Geico images. In that zone, that's when you can put your foot down as the leader. When does JCW do it? He waits until the midpoint, gets his foot down, gets a nice start. All the Natari cars getting a decent run there up on the high side, and it looks like they might be able to swap down to the low line and get themselves locked up back into the top 3 positions, which they do. Nice start from Natari. Close stuff for Dave Douglas. He absolutely had millimetres between himself and Hedderscheid there, but they get in their lines nice and easily. Matty Ray's trying to slot himself down into the low line as well, as we see Shane Bowen having a good run in the Cobalt Racing entry up on the high line at the moment for the 308, but nobody up there to help him at the moment, so he's going to be in an unenviable position. Everybody's going to now have to reset themselves for the next 68 laps. We're getting towards the halfway point in tonight's race, so it's getting to that stage where people will start sort of going, yeah, what's the plan for the next part of the race? We've not seen green flag stops here tonight, Mark, so if we get a nice long run, we could be treated to some of them.
Yeah, definitely going to see some green stops if we get a nice clean race. And everyone just settles down and go for the longevity now.
That is it, as everybody getting into their spots, and Highline led by Shane Bowen at the moment, not really getting enough momentum to push themselves forwards. That's got Derek Jacobs, I think, in there with Kobe Jordan. And Brenton Henderson coming up to the back of that line. And then we have a bit of a secondary pack with Brad Fenley, Lachlan Oakvio, Darryl Hockey, and Alexander Sheridan. And I get a feeling that Brad Fenley must have had some damage somewhere along the line, because he's just not had the pace in these restarts.
No, I've seen that. I'll see what I can find out, but I just don't want to go disturbing him. And while we're on the green. That's
it. If we see a caution flag appearing, then might send you down for a bit of a run, Mark. But yeah, he's not had the pace. So maybe something's just not quite his liking tonight, or just keeping the car out of trouble. Maybe that could be the plan of attack tonight for Brad Fenley in the Aussie Beer Motorsport entry. Up the front is JCW, Joshua Carroll-Walden in the lead. Toby Stent second, Daniel Hedderscheid in third, with Dave Douglas fourth. Luke Crum sitting in the 5th spot. Norman Clark having a return after his holidays, up in 6th position with Matty Ray, Riley Curtis, Christopher Tomlin and Jamie Nankervis on top 10 as it stands.
Yeah, that outside line's definitely thinned off again. We've only got 3 cars up there now, and as I say that, then we see in the background some more decide to come up high and join them.
They always like to make liars out of us. I swear most of these drivers have the broadcast on as we're going around, and they're like, oh, they've just said this one thing. Let's do something completely different to throw them off.
Yeah, definitely. Just watching that Toyota of Kobe Jordan, it seems to be getting loose mid-corner. I don't know whether he's trying to force Jamie into making a mistake. And
Keep an eye on that one. Just having some moments on the exit, maybe just getting a little slide on, possibly. It's we've seen it with this new generation of car. It can just be a little bit tricky on the mid corners sometimes.
yeah, it just seems to be getting down on that seam, and it's thrown him back up track a little bit. So we can just see there too, Tomlin in front of the curve is doing the same thing.
Yeah, playing with fire going down there, you can absolutely gain a lot of time if you get it right. We've seen that with that seam. As got Norman Clark making a move on Luke Crum right now, as Luke Crum just got a little bit out of position, and that gave Storm and Norman the opportunity to slide up the inside and push himself up into 5th position as they race on. And well, the Nasari cars are just breaking away a little bit with Dave in the tail gunner position. So he's got to really get some speed on there to link back up there with Crum, because it looks like there's been a little bit of a check-up in the pack. You can see Matty Ray falling back on the low line, and Neil Pearson trying to push his way forwards on the high line, as Shane Bowen comes down to the low line there and drops himself down and leaves the 2 DPR cars all on their lonesome up on the high line, just the 2 cars pushing along there.
And we see Tomlin move out of that low line further back and looking at trying to take down the DPR car.
I'm sure the inside lane production team are going to be trying to shuffle their cars into a position where they can sort of make some spots, and if they can link up with each other, that will be good stuff. What's that?
That was a touch from Tomlin onto Ruben Phelps.
And we've got a wreck happening there. Caution flag is not flying at the moment, as Riley Curtis and Maddie Ray have to go back to the replay for that one, because yeah, I saw the car. There was a bit of a moment there. I think it was Ruben Phelps got sent down to the low line, and there was contact between, just a voiding moment for his teammate. You see that replay there, and unfortunately, he's just had a moment for Riley Curtis as well. As Riley Curtis, I think Riley Curtis and Kobe Jordan might have made contact, and that sent Riley Curtis down into Maddie Ray there.
Yeah, it looks like Tomlin just touched the back of Ruben Phelps, and that started it all off. Yep, you can see there. Oh.
Yeah, and watch the 080 there in the middle, and you can see Riley Curtis having to just take a little bit of avoiding action. It gets very tight there, and then unfortunately Riley and Maddie Ray get caught up with each other, and that's their night's effectively over unless we see a caution. They got some heavy damage as well, sadly, but with no caution flag, that's really shaken up that front pack, as it's sort of dropped off the rest of the group a little bit, as they've sort of lost a couple of cars. They had a big checkup. So Joshua Carroll Walden, Toby Stent, Daniel Hederscheid, Dave Douglas, Norman Clark, Neil Pearson, Luke Crum, Andrew Dyson and Neil Pearson are the sort of cars that are sitting up in this sort of the front pack, you got to say. The 2 DPR cars still on the high line, but the rest of the cars have fallen off because they've all been sort of scattered around.
Yeah, a lot of checkups and different things, and yeah, that's just thrown the pack in two.
That's taken a couple of fast cars out of that run as well, so that's really shaking things up as we're starting to come up to Maddie Ray now, putting him down a lap, unfortunately, as he's out there trying to get some recovery drive happening right now, but he's got quite a bit of front end damage on the SRM Mobile Brake Mechanical car. So that's not going to help his night either. Still get a bit of an idea of the pace now as Riley Curtis is about to go a lap down as well, and see how much pace is left in the 93 tonight as well. Looks like they've got some okay pace once they get onto the back of somebody. So race isn't fully over for them yet, but they're going to be, it's going to be a struggle tonight now for those two cars for sure.
Yeah, definitely not a great night for him.
As I think, Christopher Tomlin's had a moment in the corner exit as a little bit of team-on-team contact, just trying to bump draft a little bit between Jordan and Tomlin, and they've done the same thing as Dyson, sort of just put it in the wrong position, just on the exit of the corner as well, and it's just unsettled the car. He's done a good job of keeping it in the right direction, but that could have been a big crash there, but they've managed to sort of save it, but that's going to cost him a bit more time. So they managed to recover at least, so they sort of recovered, but that checkup's going to cost that group a lot more time again and just drop them off positions. So we've seen people struggling with the bus draft tonight, Mark.
Yeah, a lot of those, like the ones that we've seen, that they haven't been square. And you know yourself, Carl, you really need to be square on when you do the bump draft on these things, because it just takes so much air off the rear.
Absolutely. I mean, this car is, even with the sort of last gen of cars and your sort of trucks and your Xfinity cars, you sort of want to be quite square on. But this next generation Cup car, you really have to be in the correct position, because these things are so, they're a little bit, they dance a lot, and they can be a little bit unsettled if you tap them in exactly the wrong place. And that's what's been happening, Mark. And it just really causes those big spins, and well, we've seen 3 of them tonight so far.
Yeah, definitely. This second group needs to settle down. I've just been keeping an eye on it, and we've seen on screen they're really fighting amongst themselves, and all that's doing is dropping them further off that lead pack.
Yeah, you've got to really work with the cars around you and just go head down, and that's what we saw in that last run up the front with the deep BR cars. They put their heads down, and everybody got in a line and started working with each other, and they were gaining about half a second a lap at some stages. So you've really got to get everybody working together in a single line to start pushing, and it looks like they're just getting that now. They're just starting to take that point now and starting to work with each other in those positions. Track temperature's gone up a bit as well, so I wonder if that's affecting a few people right now. Track temperature's gone up to 53 degrees Celsius, Mark, and that's a fairly significant amount of heat out there.
Well, that's what was it? It's almost a 10 degrees jump or more. So that's definitely going to be affecting these tyres now. I found that these tyres really do get squirrely and really like marshmallow. So what are we on? We're on 25 lap runs at the moment, 25, 26 lap runs. So the tyres will definitely be not the best at the moment.
No, that could be something that's causing a couple of those little issues as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that one works out. I'm seeing a few cars just ducking out of position as well, just trying to get a big gulp of air into the radiator, just trying to cool themselves down. And a lot of that's going on at the front of the field at the moment, and that's just slowing them down a tiny bit at the moment, as the secondary pack's trying to close the gap on them. But they're sort of getting back into order as it goes. As you see, the DPR cars dropping down to the low line for the first time. It seems tonight they've been running up high most of this race, but I wonder if temperatures are just starting to come into effect here.
Yeah, definitely with these guys being so close. Even the lead cars now, those 3 Natari cars, you can see there's a slight gap between them. They're not running nose to tail. So everyone looks like everyone is looking for a bit of fresh air over that nose of the cars.
A bit of clean air can be vital for these machines, as they need to breathe, and it needs to be fairly cool air as well, because these engines run very, very hot indeed. But we're getting there. We're on lap 87, 43 remaining here tonight at Atlanta for race 19 of 36 for this Cup season. So we're sort of chucking through the season as well, Mark. It seems like only yesterday we were sort of at the first couple of rounds, but we're sort of in at that nice spot now where we can almost see the final endings of the season.
You mean we've still got more weeks to go? I thought we were at the end.
No, unfortunately not.
Oh, Kobe Jordan just up into the wall there briefly. He's really dropped back on that second pack. I don't know if he's got a few issues there, but it's not a good run for him.
I wonder if he was trying to shuffle back in the pack a little bit and he got caught up high, and it just, because he's not run that high line much tonight, I wonder if that caught him out. Just dropping back in the pack to get a little bit of fuel saving. So, because he's been running up the front for quite a bit of time now, so I wonder if he was trying to drop back to get a little bit of fuel numbers in there. But that sort of caused a chain reaction in that pack where they're starting to get racy again with each other, and that's costing them time once more. The leaders are starting to stretch their legs again up the front. JCW seems pretty happy leading as it stands, as they're coming up to Lachlan Urquio now, who's sitting it up on the high line, keeping himself out of trouble. And hopefully that second pack doesn't start to race too hard as they catch up to him, and we won't see a repeat of what happened last time.
Yeah. So with 40 laps to go, or 39 to go now, we've only lost one car out of tonight's race, and that was our unlucky black car, Phil Otto, with his motor expired. But right at the moment, we've got Riley Curtis, Matthew Raymond 1 lap down, Lachlan Urquio and Daryl Hockey 2 laps down, and unfortunately Alexander Sheridan 9 laps down, Carl.
Yeah, it's not a fun position to be in when you're sitting in that spot, but you can gain a lot of experience. That's the other thing. Alexander Sheridan is slightly newer to ANZCAR, and you can gain a little bit of experience running out there at this stage and just learning a little bit as you go on. So even if you know you're not going to get a very good finish, you can still try and get something out of it. And I wonder if that's what Sheridan's doing at the moment, just using it as an extra long practice session. Up the front, there's a little bit of breakup happening at the front of the pack, and I wonder if we're going to start seeing a couple of cars shuffling around in position here.
Yeah. Well, the guys are going to have to come down pit lane fairly soon, probably within 10 laps. So, yeah, we might be starting to see the guys just setting themselves up for that next round of pit stops. And by the look of it, maybe under green.
Absolutely, but we're getting to that stage where you can make it home on one last pit stop here. They'll try and leave it out as long as possible, just in case we get a green-white checker situation. But fresh tyres will be crucial for that anyway, so they'll want to come in for that one too. But I wonder if we'll see a few of the early stops happening in the near future and trying to get themselves out into a good line so they can sort of position themselves well for the end run. Of course, you want to make sure you're out with a pack, because if you're running out there on your own, you're going to lose a lot of time.
Yeah, I'd say there'd be some radio communication going on between some of the guys there now, just trying to check on when they're going to pit and try and get in together. And as you said, Carl, if you lose your running partner, it's not going to be fun for the rest of the race.
You can see this pack's just having a bit of a check up here, and not sure what was going on there. There was a big break in this second pack. I think I saw Kobe Jordan just getting a little bit tight off the corner. I think there's a few people struggling at the moment as Tomlin has a check up behind, and they're all getting very antsy at the moment. You just get the feeling there might be an accident down in this group of cars. as Ruben Phelps trades position with Brenton Henderson there. And I wonder if they're just trying to swap positions a little bit, but a few people just really struggling with the exit on the corners. And they just had a couple of moments where the car got really tight on them. They just couldn't get it turned, and then all of a sudden it came back to them, and they just had to sort of correct it down the straight. So I reckon there's a few drivers out there that are just not quite enjoying these tyres as they get 38 laps into this stint. So they'll be coming down pit lane in the very near future.
Yeah, it's they've dropped off a fair way off that lead pack. So these guys in that second group will definitely be looking for a caution.
They could make a fair bit of time up on the green flag stops when they happen. Green flag stops can be a blessing and a curse. But I just get the feeling there's a few cars that are just looking a little bit anxious out there. They're just not looking as planted as they were early in the race. And I just wonder if we're going to see some pit stops happening in the very near future.
Well, not going to be this lap round.
That track temperature just keeps on rising, doesn't it? It's up to 55 now.
I reckon that might be a thing that's causing a few issues as well, Matt. As I said, it's just...
Yep. I think the tyres have really heated up, and that's why we're seeing a few cars wobbling around a bit.
If you can get in right now, you could take advantage of the undercut a little bit as well. It's not something you see on super speedways that often. And Atlanta isn't technically a super speedway, but it acts like one. Those fresh tyres, if you get out there with a few cars, you could be running about a second a lap faster than these leaders. So it might be worth just pulling it down pit lane very, very soon for those guys behind and doing it before these lead cars come in. Because that's going to be their really only shot other than a caution to sort of make it there.
Yeah, look, if this lead pack decides to pull in, that second group has to come in and cover them off. Otherwise, they're going to find themselves further down, a bigger gap.
Nobody's taken the opportunity yet. They're all just sticking it out there and just playing the you blink first game. Who is going to be the first to blink? We'll find out soon, I'm sure. Because I think a lot of people are also hanging out there just hoping that we see a caution. And, well, we say it every time we have green flag stops. There's more of a chance of caution with green flag stops happening. People could mess it up coming into pit lane. People could mess it up on the exit of pit lane. So it does bring more risk-reward settings.
Looks like Toby's moved out, trying to get a big gulp of fresh air. So it's the temperatures in these motors. I'd hate to be thinking what they'd be getting up to, sitting in that line at the moment.
You got to cook yourself a nice steak on top of the engine block, I'm sure. So it's definitely hot in that engine at the moment.
Just been seeing this front back of cars. They seem to have split themselves apart a bit more, and we saw Toby looking to get some fresh, clean air there. So I don't know if it's the heat on the engine temperatures and water temperatures for them from following closely, or whether they're just, with the tyres getting too hot, they're not really as comfortable running as close to each other at the moment.
Maybe just trying to get a tiny little bit of a gap as well, just to come into pit lane, because you don't want to be nose to tail doing that, and that can be something that will catch people out as well, because obviously it can be very perilous coming off the racetrack and pulling yourself down into the pit lane.
Yeah, you definitely need to be calling it if you're going to pit when you're in this group here. Or in a tight group like this, you need to be letting people know when you're going to pit so they can take avoiding action.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to hear that first radio call, and it's not coming at the moment. Everybody is sort of keeping themselves out there as long as possible to give them the best run home, of course, on those tyres. I'm surprised not to see a few cars risking it, though. I'm surprised to see that second pack not coming in sooner. I sort of I feel like sticking it out with them, just staying out while the leaders are out there losing time is not the right call. If you need to come down pit lane, I don't think they could make it home on fuel on this tank because they're almost 50 laps in now.
Yeah, we think they should need another pit stop. They're just obviously trying to leave it right to the last moment. 48
Well,
laps
even-
done on this stint so far.
Even if they can get 60 laps in, that's still going to leave a lot of guys short by about 4 or 5 laps.
Yeah, I personally, I would make the call to come in and try something different because there's a lot of time you can make just by having some fresher tyres right now, and they're about 8 seconds off the lead at the moment. Ruben Phelps. There's an 8-second gap.
The first call's come in. I wasn't sure who it's come from, but
Andy Barber.
Okay, I thought it may have been someone up the front.
So that's a car that's been running sort of in a slightly smaller pack on his own. I think Andy's got a bit of damage as well. But that tells me that it's not going to be long until we see cars coming down pit lane. But as I said, I would have thought this group would have come down sooner just to take advantage of those fresh tyres, try and come back out in a group and try and work together, because I feel like that's your best chance of closing that gap up to the leaders, because as it stands, they're not really going to have a chance to do that. As we see Andy Barber pulling it into pit lane, and Darrell Hockey's also down there. So starting to see those first pit stops happening. As well, who is going to be the first to blink in these two big packs? That's going to be the question, but they're not going to gain much by doing this. And I feel unless a caution flag comes out, they're not going to really be able to use much of an advantage from this, sticking it out as long as they are.
No, look, I think that second pack has, they're definitely not going to close that leading pack. They're going to need a caution. I think if we do see a caution, it's going to be either with someone coming into pit lane or someone coming out.
Leaders coming in this time round. So
all three.
We're going to see this front pack pulling in now, and I think we're going to see everybody in this front pack coming in. So let's keep an eye on pit entry, because this is where chaos can happen. As Dave Douglas sticks it out there, he's going to stay out there for now. As they come in, as contact from Luke Crum into Norman Clark, I think it was. And what were we saying about pit stops and pit lane? As Norman keeps it going somehow, but that could have been that caution. Norman's got a lot of damage on that car, though, and hopefully he's got enough fuel to make it round, but that car is done for the night.
Ruben Phelps is in this lap.
So you're going to see all of that shuffling its way through. Douglas, DPR cars of Pearson and Dyson coming into pit lane. Nigel Patton sticks it out and gets himself a lap led, so he'll get himself a bonus point for that one as they start pulling themselves out. And the other thing about Atlanta that's tricky is pit lane exit, Mark. It's quite flat down there, but there is a little bit of banking if you keep it right next to the line. Very easy to get a penalty as well by doing that, because you're really running next to the line there, and it is so easy to get yourself a penalty by crossing the line on pit exit, and it can really cost you a huge amount of time, of course, and but you can gain a huge amount of time by running yourself on that little bit of banking that there is. So it's a real risk and reward situation down there.
Yeah, and if you get onto the gas too quick and change gear on cold tyres on that banking, you can find yourself turning the car around. As we see, I believe that's Nigel Patton and Jamie Nankervis. They've hung out.
Yeah, they are. Still going along out there as well. We'll split things up quite a bit as well. As we say, green flag stops, there's a lot of time that can be gained and lost on pit lane. So
Yeah,
that
Curvis is
Kurt's
in this
pulling it
back.
in.
Yeah.
As we go into the replay here with Norman Clark and Luke Crum. So what I reckon here, actually, I've taken a bit of a look at it myself, and I reckon Norman just has a little bit too much brake bias in the rear, and it's just caught him out a little bit as the rear's just stepped out on him, just coming into the lane, and it just caused a little bit of a check-up, and then Luke Crum just makes that tiny bit of contact, which really costs him and causes that mistake to roll even further. So you see there, the back end just steps out a little bit. He has that lock up. And I don't know if it's net code or if it was a little bit of a lock up that caused that, because it was so close between the two of those incidents. It could have been either. But unfortunately, the number 9 car is, well, his race is pretty much run now for Norman Clark. So, Dave Douglas and Andrew Dyson are leading this race now. Neil Pearce is taking a bit of a gamble as well. We're changing left sides only. Right side only or left side only? Right side only. So Pearson's just changed to right side only. So he's taking a bit of a risk there. Dyson and Douglas, they both look like they did a full 4-set change, but they just had a really good run through pit lane.
That sounds like it could be dangerous. There's information coming through that Cody Jordan had only 6% left in his on his left-hand tires. Left in his tires, yeah, 6%. So there's definitely pretty high tyre wear out there as well.
Absolutely.
So could be dangerous for Pearson.
I wonder if maybe that could also be a thing of running pressures as well. Maybe Pearson's running very low pressures and is able to get the tyres lasting a bit longer. But it's not really looking like it's paid off as side by side they go.
Oh, we've got a caution down the back. Shane Bowen. Oh, no, not caution, but we've got someone spinning. Shane Bowen's on the inside fence.
Well, keep our eyes on the front at the moment, because this is getting very racy between Toby Stent and Neil Pearson, and we know Neil Pearson's on just the 2 tyres at the moment. You see the smoke there in the foreground of that incident. But they are side by side at the moment, and they are racing hard, while Dave Douglas and Dyson are really pushing up at the front, trying to get a little bit of an advantage, trying to break themselves away from the rest of the pack here. So lots happening right now, and as we said, green flag pit stops often bring us some really interesting racing.
Just try and quickly grab a look at that replay. Let me know if we need to jump back live really quickly.
Okay,
the Bowen incident.
See here, so Kobe Jordan goes to bump draft Bowen a little bit, but just gets in the wrong place and actually turns him. Yep. So that was definitely a dump. So that was more of a dump than a failed bump draft attempt, I would go with.
Yeah, doesn't look too good, does it?
So there's a lot of closing speed. There's a huge bump there, and then Kobe Jordan's gone below the line and just caught him on the rear and just turned him there. So look, I often give benefit of the doubt, but that one it was pretty blatant.
Back live up the front here now.
Oh,
same thing.
Well, speaking of bumps, they're dumping somebody. JCW dumped Dyson. Caution up the front. Well, we've gone from one controversial incident into another one, Matt.
It looked exactly the same sort of type of thing. Oh, Mark? Dear.
You're keeping suspiciously quiet there.
I plead the fifth.
Unfortunately, we're not in America, so you can't. So, does Dyson move down on JCW there? From watching it again, it looks like he does. JCW's just got the inside line there, and Dyson comes down on him. So, slightly different incident, but then the cars get very loose down on the low line, and JCW goes up into Dyson. Dyson T-boned by Daniel Hederscheid, and then Neil Pearson gets caught up in that one. Sorry, not Neil Pearson. Shane Bowen and Brad Fenley get caught up in that one as well with Toby Stent. And Shane Bowen, he's not had a good couple of laps, unfortunately.
No, he's been minding his business and hasn't been
And
great.
Brad Fenley as well. Yeah, Brad Fenley's been quiet all night long, just trying to keep the car clean and out of trouble. And, he gets caught up in that one too.
Yeah, he's just been rotating around, trying to get some more experience in the Cup cars, and yeah, it's unfortunate.
So, lots of incidents there. You can see a lot of those front runners as well get caught up with that one. Luke Crum just getting a tiny bump on the right-hand side, but it looks like he got relatively unscathed with that one. The panel bounced back out, so he's sort of survived that one, but a lot of cars got caught in that one, a lot of the front runners too. So that was a lot of fast cars there that have taken a lot of damage. Andrew Dyson in for some heavy repairs, same as Maddie Ray. Maddie Ray back on the lead lap, so some bad news for some people, but some good news for a change for Maddie Ray. But I don't know if he got caught up in that second incident. So,
Geez, the cars are pretty durable. They've taken some licks tonight and still going good.
they have. It's the new damage updates on this Cup car has changed it a little bit, because beforehand that would have been a race over. But now they're a little bit more durable, and they're sort of surviving a bit better than they were, which is great to see, because they're pretty rugged vehicles, these things, unless you hit them in the wrong way.
Well,
So-
unless I'm driving.
Yeah, that's it.
I just look at the wall and I got a meatball.
If it's one of us free driving the car, it just disintegrates instantly. But then again, that's our problem for driving the Lancia Delta version of the Cup car. It's the rust that causes the problems, I'm sure. Dave Douglas is going to be leading away. We're going to have a bit of a sprint to the end here. 5 laps remaining. Pretty much everybody stuck it out, but a few people came down pit lane for some new tyres. Their last set of tyres, I think. And they're going to see what they can do. And the highest of those cars is Ruben Phelps. So this could be an opportunity for Ruben Phelps and Brenton Henderson in this run to the flag. So be interesting to see how they go. And, well, everybody's on relatively fresh tyres. I think the longest stint out there is Toby Stent, I think, 13 odd laps. So there's not going to be much difference. But we'll see how that one plays out as the pace car is about to peel in here at Atlanta. And Dave Douglas is going to be leading us away. Final 5 laps here for tonight's ANZCAR Cup action here on Performance E Streaming. Dave Douglas gets a huge leak there, which is not what he wants to see. There's 2 Natari cars behind him are working together well, and they're going to get a huge draft onto the back of him. Jai Schultz working his way back up to the front with Luke Crum down on the inside. There's Luke Crum, Jai Schultz, and Christopher Tomlin down on the inside lane. Kobe Jordan working his way up quickly as well as the 2 Natari cars run up on the high side, pushing their way forwards. Dave Douglas, he is trying to get himself towards the front of the field as well, down on the low line. As there's contact in the background as Kobe Jordan in the wall, he bangs out, bangs back in, makes contact with Neil Pearson, then Andrew Dyson, and this is going to bring out a caution for sure, I would say. Yes, it does. Bit of a ping-pong moment back there for Kobe Jordan. He went into about 16 different places, unfortunately, trying to recover that car. It all started out of turn 4 between himself and Daniel Hederscheid, I think. He gets up into the wall, goes down into Toby Stent. No, not Toby Stent. Who was that? Derek Jacobs, sorry. Goes down into Derek Jacobs, back in the wall. Down into Neil Pearson, bumps him out of the wall, and then down into Andrew Dyson. And Lachlan Ogo nowhere to go. And Stevie Dubb taking a big hit from that as well. So that was a big old accident, a long accident as well for Kobe Jordan. He's just going to be sitting there going, oh, God, don't get worse, don't get worse, don't get worse. It just keeps getting worse. And unfortunately, one of the biggest damaged cars out there, from a rather innocuous-looking tap with Stevie Dub. The whole right front wheel has been taken off of the mean green car. We'll see Stevie Dub coming. We just missed that, so Stevie Dub just caught the tail end of the accident, and it just took off the right front of that car. So that is raced over for that car as well. So, as is often the case, cautions breeding cautions.
Yeah, yep.
You could definitely see business had picked up the front there, that's for sure. So I think we'll go into a green-white checker here.
We should be indeed, as yes, it just updates and says green-white checker coming. So, green-white checker coming in here. So, we will be getting a run to the flag now, and it's going to be a pretty, I'd say the aggression levels are going to go back up here, so you're going to be wanting to get yourself up to the front just in case there is that late caution.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty chaotic. I think everyone's just going to be going, and no one's going to give any quarter, no space. Everyone's just going to be trying to do everything they can because you want to be in front, because any chance that the caution comes out and freezes the field in place, and that'll be it.
But I've got to ask a question. What's the conversation between JCW and Toby Stent, and what's the conversation between the three inside line production cars there? There'd be some very, very fun conversations going on right now.
I mean, the front two the outside line has to delay going. Oh, yeah, but then if Dave Douglas gets a really good run, he's going to be right on the back of JCW. I don't know. What do you do?
This could be a fantastic opportunity for those cars to get themselves locked into the playoffs as well. The only car up there at the moment, there's two cars, and that's Toby Stent and Jai Schultz. So this could be the opportunity for some of those drivers to get themselves locked into the playoffs here. And as you said, there's a lot of different things that could go on. Dave Douglas is pretty much on his lonesome at the moment. He's out there with nobody to help him. But we know Dave, and he will absolutely go for it. I think Dave will be. It's going to be interesting to see who he chooses to go after, and see if he can get a run off the corner as well. But those two Natari cars, they need to get linked up quickly, because those inside lane production cars, they are sitting in a fantastic spot at the moment. Jai Schultz down there as well could give him a really good opportunity. So, I would not want to bet on this finish.
No, and team-wise, you really, I mean, JCW is right on that bubble, so, you know, if you're Stent, you want to probably help JCW get the win and lock himself into the chase, so you got some help in there. But here we go.
Into the restart zone we go. When does JCW drop it? He drops it early, gets his foot down very quickly there, but Dave did not get caught too much napping. Gives enough room, though, for Stent to drop down to the low line and link up with his teammate. We're coming around to see the white flag as JCW leads. Dave Douglas sits back there with Luke Crum on his high side. He's got Christopher Tomlin behind him. Ruben Phelps, remember, on those fresh tyres. Ruben is on fresher tyres here. This could be his opportunity to get a good run, and he can run some different lines. Dave sort of caught in the middle. Doesn't have the opportunity to move himself up. He's stuck there in that middle line. Can he get himself up into that high line, up into the front of the inside lane push? They spread out as they come across the quad oval. The white flag is out. We're going to see the checkered flag no matter what now. Up the front is Joshua Carroll-Walden, Toby Stent leading. Dave Douglas sitting right there behind, trying to work out where he gets the run. As Toby Stent pushes too hard to JCW and turns him. JCW goes out the field. He drops back. Dave Douglas gets caught in that. JCW still getting caught. There's going to be a wreck behind, but up the front, it's Toby Stent in the lead. Will Dave Douglas get the run off the final corner here to the flag? It's Dave Douglas, Luke Crum. It looks like it's going to be Toby Stent for the victory. Who gets second? It's Luke Crum by absolutely nothing.
Wowza. Watching that GCW incident unfold, he was like a pinball.
Yeah, he's tried to sort of get it back up there, trying to save that run. Great driving from everybody in the back there, because they sort of they keep it going for a little bit, but then there's an almighty crash after a few moments as they're ping-ponging around. But yeah, just a mistake from Toby Stent there, just again pushing a little bit too soon. He just started pushing too soon off the exit of the corner, and that cost his teammate the chance for victory tonight.
Yeah, again, just not square onto the rear end of the car, and we've seen this time and time again with these cars, and both you and I have said it, Carl. If you're not square on, you're not going to get a great push.
All right, well, Daryl Hockey, Daniel Hedderscheid, Jai Schultz, Dave Douglas, Luke Crum, and Toby Stent. Those were the only cars pointing in the right direction when it came to the finish of that race, because behind them there was an almighty wreck going on. Matty Ray sneaks it through into 6th position. Shane Bowen, after getting caught out twice, having huge accidents, none of his own making there, he comes home in 7th. JCW finishes in 8th somehow, after sort of a big moment going through all of that chaos. Then Ruben Phelps, Brenton Henderson coming through, but it's just absolute carnage behind as cars were flying all in the wrong position.
Yeah, it was one of those races where when we got that last caution, we knew that green-white checker was going to be no holds barred 2 laps, and it definitely proved to be so. But that is stock car racing, and we'll just have to let the officials decide if there's any penalties or anything to be handed out. So be an interesting night for those boys.
Mention to Derek Jacobs, who finished in 15th position. He managed to finish by crossing the line in reverse, because he was very much going the wrong way. Just chucked it in reverse and got it across the line. So there's a lot of chaos happening there as we're seeing the replay for that final incident on screen. And yeah, that was a real chaotic finish to this race.
I think there was multiple accidents going on in that one. Just trying to catch up with all of them.
Yeah, you can see that just as they just get turned and get unsettled, there's just no way of saving them. And Hockey sort of just drove through the incident. He got really lucky to make it through there. Just the seas parted. He got a couple of taps, but he just squeezed it through there. But yeah, that was a chaotic finish to tonight's race for sure.
Days of Thunder style.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see the cars sort of going backwards here as well. You see Christopher Tomlin and Derek Jacobs having to just chuck it in reverse to make it across the line. And they made themselves a couple of positions by doing that, because it was so chaotic in that finish that you sort of had to get yourself to the line as quick as possible. Well, let's go through the results of tonight's race. It's Toby Stent taking victory here tonight for Natari. Luke Crum finishing in 2nd, 20 positions gained in this race. Biggest mover and shaker tonight. Dave Douglas comes home in 3rd spot. Jai Schultz in 4th. Daniel Hedderscheid 5th. Matty Ray comes home 6th. 7th for Shane Bowen. Joshua Garrell 8th. Ruben Phelps 9th. And 10th for Brenton Henderson. Kobe Jordan will finish in 11th spot with Brad Fenley coming home 12th. Andy Barber 13th, 14th for Jamie Anker's, Derek Jacobs in 15th, 16th for Christopher Tomlin, Nigel Patton in 17th, 18th for Darryl Hockey, Riley Curtis in 19th, and Neil Pearson in 20th position. Andrew Dyson comes home in 21st with Stevie Dubb 22nd. Bad night for DPR tonight. Alexander Sheridan in 23rd, Norman Clark 24th, Lachlan Oakrio 25th, and Phil Otto in 26th position. And Mark, I might leave the interviews up to you tonight if that's okay.
So we'll pull up Dave Douglas first, and Dave, welcome to the booth, mate, and congratulations on 3rd place.
Yeah, P3, not bad.
Bit of a chaotic finish there.
Yeah, it was intense. I mean, the old Lone Ranger, mate. I felt like a Lone Ranger out there. We had teammates all around me. But I know the guys up there that were racing. We were all going to race hard no matter what. Then the Dentari boys, you got the Crumb Dog up there and Josh Schultz. I know those boys, they love a hard race, mate. They're not going to back you up for nobody. So, yeah, I knew it was going to be a fun run to the line. Just had to hold on, man, pretty much.
Yeah, well, mate, tyre wear tonight. Any big secrets into the tyre wear or tyre heat tonight?
Yeah, I did no changes. Didn't even think about a change, and I didn't do that last time, and worked out all right too. So, I just found like I was just trying to lift a little bit through the turns on entry, not push the tire on the exit, just where I could, and use the draft to keep the speed up. So, just looked after them a little bit, and I think it worked. I felt pretty good, so I didn't have any issues really.
Yeah, beautiful, mate. Well, you nearly was able to sail through for the race win, but just not quite. Mate, New Hampshire next week. Love it or hate it?
Hate it, mate. Hate it. Put it in the box with Darlington. But
Well,
yeah, I
well,
was just going to say, yeah, P3. I guess it's not too bad coming out here. Could have been wrecked. I was off the back of the pack earlier, so yeah, I knew those boys up front were going to work. There's Toby and Josh. I knew exactly what their plan was, and they executed it perfectly. And I just had to try and rattle them, try and get out of them, and just gave Toby just a tiny little nudge on the exit there, which pushed Josh, and unfortunately got him loose. I mean, feel bad for him, but that's just the nature of the beast, mate.
well, mate, it's stock car racing, and there's no holds bar under a green-white checker. It's every man for himself, and unfortunately, we've seen a lot of that tonight. Guys just not getting square on, giving bumps to teammates and different things, and most of them tonight was from just not the right bump at the right spot.
Yeah, I found that out in practice pretty quickly. The first one I did was Stevie Williams, just sent him flying. But yeah, if you just got on that too much to the left of the car, that was it. It's all over. And man, the DPR boys, man, they were probably the most aggressive doing the pushes. And even those guys, like I saw Pearson have a bit of a save early on, and that was right at the front of the pack. So that would have been a massive one, but he was able to save it. But yeah, those guys were getting it done though on the outside. Like they were the guys pushing the pin, I guess you'd say. But yeah, just sort of stalled out whenever you got side by side.
Yeah, definitely. Well, mate, again, congratulations on third place. Before we let you go, shout out to sponsors and supporters.
Yeah, no sponsors, no supporters, mate. Just the Lone Ranger, brother. Shout out to just ANZCAR and you boys putting on the broadcast. It's been a while since I've been up here, so it's nice to come back. It's 3 podiums for the week, actually. P2 and the trucks. I've had everything. I've had the P2, I've had the first last night, and now the third. So I've had every dice you can get. So we'll take it, mate. We'll take it. We survived. We'll move on to. I was about to say shit Hampshire, but anyway, I said it. There you go.
All right, mate. Well, again, congratulations and thanks for joining us in the booth after tonight's race.
Yeah, cheers, boys. Take it easy, eh?
No worries. Thank you. All right, we'll grab up our second place getter, Mr. Luke Crumb. Mate, welcome to the booth and congratulations on second place.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, it was a pretty hectic race.
Yeah, definitely an action-packed finish there, and some very action-filled parts through the race. We've seen some guys bumping and door rubbing and not quite working out the way they'd hoped. But I've got to ask you, your tyre wear tonight, mate. We heard one of your teammates was down to 6% of tyre life on a set of tyres. How did you find the tyres tonight?
Yeah, I wasn't too bad. I think sort of being at the pointy end for most of the race, I wasn't having to pass too many people. I was just sort of sitting in line, so it wasn't too bad for me. But yeah, the teammates were all going a bit nuts about the tyre wear, saying that they were struggling. I just made a couple of little like pit stop adjustments just to try and help me through the race with the different fuel load and that, and I think that's sort of what kept me at the front end anyway.
Yeah, well, mate, before the race, I was talking to some guys that got different stories. You can tell us, it's only us here in the booth. No one else is listening. Tire pressures. Guys were talking about taking them down and others were talking about taking them up. So you want to let into the secret which way you ended up going in the Toyota Beast?
I didn't touch him. Did
Didn't?
not touch him. No, didn't touch him at all.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
no. I drive to the car, not the track. So, yeah, I don't play with that sort of stuff.
Well, that's fair enough, mate.
Yeah.
Well, we're off to New Hampshire next week. I'll ask the same question. Love it or hate it?
Yeah, it's not a bad track, eh? It's pretty good. Yeah.
All right. Well, mate, again, congratulations on second place. And before we let you go, and we'll get you to do a shout out to supporters and sponsors.
Yep. Yeah. Just shout out to Inside Lane Productions, Chops Remote Tech Support, On Track Ag, New Holland, Karcher, Brian's Car Care, Cafe Roubaix, HM Mechanical, and all the other sponsors and supporters.
All right, mate. Well, again, congratulations on second place, and we'll see you at New Hampshire next week.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
All right, and we'll bring up into the booth now our race winner, one Mr. Toby Stent. Welcome back to the booth, mate, and congratulations on first place.
Hey, yeah, I need to starting at the back more because it seems to go all right for me. Last week was all right. This week, I have no idea what I didn't qualify, but it was so bad. So yeah, I don't know. It was awesome. No, it's yeah. Obviously, it's definitely not all me at this track. Like teammates Dan and Josh and Jamie at the start till he got sort of caught up in the stuff, and Normie especially was making some really good aggressive moves and not letting people muck around. So yeah. Obviously, I got the win in the end there, and it's a shame what happened to Josh because it would have been cool for him to get the win. But it was a big team effort there, so it was really cool that it sort of paid off, and we had a chat about what we want to do because we've been good, but we haven't been able to get the win on these tracks, and we sort of had a bit different of a game plan, but basically the same, just a few different ideas, and it worked for us. So that was really cool, and teamwork's awesome. Everyone's like I said, everyone did a bloody cool job. So no, it's more of a team win than my win. But yep, I'll shout out our sponsors and say good job to everybody. So that was cool. I hate this track, to be honest. Absolutely hate this track. So I was half thinking about not running because I was like, I just cannot deal with it. But yeah, I'm glad I did, obviously, and yeah, we got through. So perfect.
Yeah, it's a 1.5 that really races now like a super speedway. And I guess you either love super speedways or you don't. But again tonight we've seen some bumps and guys just not getting that square onto the rear end, and it just seems these cars now, unless you're 100% square, you can't do it.
Yeah, but I wouldn't blame the cars, but that's all I'll say. So it's definitely not the car's fault. You can definitely bump them pretty square pretty easily. The fronts are pretty flat and the rears are pretty flat, so you just need to not try and put them in silly spots. So a lot of people, I don't like the end of these races because people seem to think you can bump in corners when you can't, right? Not saying Dave didn't do that, right? We were racing hard at the end, so nothing to do with Dave. I'll say that now. Dave did nothing wrong. Obviously, that was fun racing there. But some people in other races have sort of the car doesn't bump in a corner, and then you try to bump in a corner just because it's the last lap. It's not going to work, right? Like it didn't work the rest of the race. It's not going to work now. So that's kind of why I don't like these races because some silly stuff goes on. But we got through, and it's a shame what happened to Josh, and there was a bit of a wreck. But at the same time, at least sort of the front cars got through without a clumsy wreck or whatever. So no, it's all good. I'll take it for sure. It's good to get back to the front. It's been a little while. It'd be good to win on a normal track, not a dirt or a restrictor plate track. So we'll keep trying.
Well, we're off to New Hampshire next week. A place that you love or hate.
Yeah, I've never raced there, so we'll find out. I'm still new to all this, right? So I'm still going to tracks for the first time. So I have no idea. So we'll find out. But I can guess who's going to be really fast there. So yeah, lots of braking there, I think. So I can imagine who will get the win. But I'll give it my best shot, and we'll see where we come out. And yeah, we'll do our best, and fingers crossed.
All right, mate. Well, before we let you go, shout out to you, the sponsors for the team and personal sponsors and supporters.
Yeah, obviously, like I said, big shout out to the Natari boys because without them and obviously the Black Arrows guys as well, with Norman and Jamie, without the teamwork, this stuff's really hard. So yeah, everyone did awesome, really really good teamwork. So that was awesome. And sponsors are Fully Flawed, Turbo Alpha Japan, and Growth Odyssey, who are our lovely sponsors. And yeah, thank you very much.
No worries. We'll see you next week at New Hampshire, mate.
Yeah, you will do, and we'll maybe fumble qualifying again and go from the back and see if that's my lucky charm.
All right, mate. Well, thanks for joining us up here tonight, and again, congratulations on the race win.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, and thank you guys for the stream as well. It's really appreciated. So thank you for that.
No worries, mate. Hopefully we'll talk to you again next week.
Fingers crossed. We'll see. Catch ya.
All right. Well, there you are. There's your top three and the views on next week's racing, and some of the racing tonight.
Absolutely, some great stuff here tonight. Some really close finishes as well. You know, we love close finishes here on Performance E streaming, and we've got a nice close one here tonight. And if you enjoyed close finishes, then watch on Sunday night, of course, because we are going back to the Australasian Supercar E series, where we're going to be racing at Matt.
Daytona this week. Yeah, so
Yeah.
more real pure out and out speedway racing.
Absolutely, and look, we've seen it with those V8s on the oval, some really close stuff. So it should be pretty exciting indeed. On Saturday night, though, Mark, it's over to Checkered Flag E streaming and the Weekend Warriors.
Yeah, this week we're at Charlotte for our retro round. So it'll be interesting and good to see some different paints.
Absolutely, looking forward to some of those. I had a couple of sneak peeks of those, and some really cool looking paint jobs out there. A big thank you for everybody joining us here tonight on Performance E-Streaming. We'll be back with more Cup action from New Hampshire next Thursday night, of course. But for tonight, from myself, Mr. Carl Wilkinson, with the, of course, Mr. Mark Johansson and Matt Hunter doing all the hard work on the cameras, we will wish you a good night, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye.